All right. Today we're going to be talking about our first play in 2v2 team racing, which is also a kind of a simple one. It's the 1-2 versus 3-4. And I'm just going to give you some pointers, let you know what your job is through varying parts of the course, and then kind of like what is your goal as the winning team, the 1-2? What is your goal as the chasing team? How are you trying to break up that 1-2? Okay, so let's get into it. 2v2 team racing is the 1-2 versus the 3-4. We call this play one versus chasing. What's that? Well, in team racing, a 1-2 or a 1-3 is considered play one. When we're in like whatever, 6-boat team racing, right? So 1-2 is play one, and then 3-4, like 3-4, if it were 3-on-3, 3-4-5, 3-4-6, 3-5-6, whatever. You don't have the one or the two. That's called chasing, right? So for the winning team, it's really straightforward. When you are able to just sail fast, right? Try and avoid engaging with the other team. But when you're on the upwind and the downwind, so basically like when you're on the reaches, if you're just 1, 2, 3, 4, like ducks in a row, you just sail fast. There's no need to do any kind of fishtailing, no nothing. Just go straight, go fast. On the upwind and the downwind, what you need to do is balance, and we'll talk about that in a second. So the big key term for this lesson is balancing. And the other thing is we got to get the outside across, get the left across. So we'll show some examples of that too. So play one, key concepts, right? Number one is balancing. And balancing is keeping opponents on the same ladder rung by slowing the boat that is further ahead. Okay. The next one is chasing. So a chase is when you're sailing fast, using a combination of sailing fast and pig in the front to kind of get from an uncompetitive combination. So like 3-4, there's no viable pass back, right? Because you're just behind your opponents, to get into a combination where there is an available pass back to do, right? So that you're trying to chase the other team, catch up to them, and then you can start team racing, right? And then a breakaway is gaining an early gap behind the 1-2. So you say, oh, we had a breakaway 1-2, or just had a breakaway. That's what it means. You basically the 1 and 2 break away from the rest of the race, and they're just gone, right? And that's a really hard thing to chase. So let's get to it. So first of all, we have, example of balancing on the upwind. Get my laser here. So over here we have, a pair, red is winning and blue is behind. They're with their pair. This is exactly what it should look like. And then on the other side, red is also winning their pair, right? So we're coming into the top mark. We're winning 2 pairs. Heck yeah, this is great. Here's the issue. We're not balanced, right? So this red boat is far ahead of the other red boat. Additionally, the red is the weak side. And what do we learn about, in our pig in the middle? Well, we got to get the weak side across. We got to get the left across, get the outside across, right? All that stuff. So what we need to do is we need to slow and hold this opponent boat here in order to get this, our teammate, the red boat, past us, right? So what it would look like is, we're slowing them, racking our jib, we're trimming our main super hard. We kind of get to the top mark, and we do enough basically to get our teammate across. We tack, and then we are in a potential breakaway situation. So that's pretty cool. All right, so now going to mark 2, right? So basically the moral of the story is balance, but maybe even overbalance to get the left across, right? It's the responsibility of this boat on the right side to protect the left boat, get the left across, right? Okay, so now we're gonna go to the downwind, right? So first of all, when it's kind of 2 ducks in a row, 2 teammates in a row, especially like 1-2 versus 3-4, the first teammate is gonna go and reach, and the second one is going to wing. And this is like kind of always what's going to happen. When we're doing pig in the front, like we talked about before, 2 boats trying to pass 1 boat, it's important because the 3, or the boat that's closer, is the 3 in this 4-boat race, but basically the boat that's closer to the pig that you're trying to chase down is more able to get on their breeze than the boat behind, right? And so the boat behind should just sail fast towards the mark. It's kind of a way of auto balancing, and that's kind of what we're doing with the 1 and the 2 here, right? The 1 is going to be sailing slightly more distance because they're reaching. The 2 is going to be sailing straight to the mark because they're winging, so it's kind of automatically balancing them. So it's a really good thing, right? Now what do we do as the winning team? Well, we need to sail really fast and resist the urge to bump the losing team. So, we talked about this. Please, if you're confused about this, review the pig in the front video. It's going to tell you exactly what you need to do to make this work. So I just go to that. But you want to just, as much as you can, resist the urge to bump. Now, likely if it's not a breakaway and it's pretty contested, we are eventually, it's often going to turn into a 1-3 or a 1-4, right? If the 1 is just like not even available here, so that these are kind of separate scenarios. If the 1's not even, part of the race, they're just sailing fast and they're not looking back to help their teammate, and they just let their teammate get smothered and then pig in the middle, and now it's, it'll easily become a 1-3, easily become a 1-4. So, if it seems like your teammate's about to be in trouble, you got to have a moment where you're like, all right, that's it. And, you got to say something basically like, bumping, whatever. So what happens is, you're going to pair up. So your friend who's in the 2 is going to bump, whatever is the 4, whatever boat's closest to them, right? And then you are also going to drop back and we're going to balance basically on the run. So we're going to bump and run our boats. And, if one pair gets ahead, then you kind of stop your bumping and you let your teammate balance it out, continue to do the bumps and runs. And then we kind of get to the bottom mark. Okay. But the 1, if possible, if the 1-2 could just sail fast, that'd be great. But if it's starting to come contested, then you have to pair up and, equally balance. One thing you need to watch out for is overbalancing. So like, for example, if I go back here and I was the 1, right? And I'm going to drop back on this boat and they start bumping, I start bumping, and we actually like push them further back than their teammate. Now this boat can go get me and it becomes, pig in the middle. So just like, you see what I'm saying? So that's a danger, overbalancing is a huge danger. But on the downwind, it would kind of look like this, right? This is pretty good. Yeah, so if they're going to convert to another combination, if they can take this from 3-4 and make it into 2-3, then they've converted to 2-3. But yeah, so we just take an opponent, we bump them equally, stay balanced. Cool. So yeah, balance, and get the left across. So now we get to the bottom mark here and, we're incoming. Let's say it's more like that. So this blue boat potentially has a piece of us, right? What we're going to do here is we're going to do a front door pass back and bump them just enough to get our teammate across. And then we are going to go and round the mark, right? So basically, when you are doing your balancing, it will kind of alternate between a 1-3 and a 1-2. Because if it were truly a 1-2, you would just be gone, right? You'd be way far ahead. So it kind of balance between a 1-3 and a 1-2. But as long as you keep the pairs equal, here I'll say this. Number 1, win your pair. Number 2, keep pairs balanced. As long as you can do these 2 things, like stay ahead of your pair and keep them balanced, then you're going to be in good shape. And then the last thing is, as the chasing team wants to get unbalanced. They want to get unbalanced, right? If one pair gets ahead, and we'll talk about this on the upwind, it'll make more sense, then you can actually come back and help your teammate. Okay, so here we go. So now let's talk about most advantage pairs. This is another really good concept for the winning team, right? So what is most advantage pairs? Most advantage pairs is a coverage where the furthest ahead of the winning team covers the furthest ahead of the losing team, and the second furthest covers the second furthest, etc. Right? So let's say we have this 1-2 here, right? So we say we have this boat's the 1, this boat's the 3, and this boat's the so we have the first place boat for red, we have the second place boat for red, and we have the first place boat for blue and the second place boat for blue, right? When you're basically, everyone's just going to sail in a straight line, right? As soon as you round mark 4, just go straight. If nobody tacks, if no opponents tack, just go straight, right? You're covering, you're good. Now, when the opponent tacks, basically, if it's the furthest ahead of them, then the furthest ahead of you tacks with them. So, for example, the 3 or the furthest ahead blue boat tacked. Now the 1's going to go with them. If the 4 tacked in this situation, then the 2 would tack with them, right? We want to keep a buffer between the boat we're covering, and that's why we do this, right? So most advantage pairs, really, really crucial, crucial concept to remember. Okay, cool. So yeah, if no one attacks, just go straight. So what is our goal kind of on the last beat? Well, we want to, number one, stay ahead of our pair. Number two, balance. This is like so crucially important, right? I'm going to bold this and make it huge. So the last beat goal for the winning team, we got to stay ahead of our pair. And when we finish, basically us and our teammates should be like bow to bow when we cross the line, like touching bows. That means we're balanced. If it's like someone crosses with a margin, like crosses ahead, that's dangerous and bad. And, perfectly balanced, like all things should be. Hope some of you guys get the reference. That's what we want. How do we balance? Well, we got to actively slow our pair and get on their wind, right? So we want to, pull our main in super hard, make sure we see the front of their jib starting to bubble. If we get too far ahead, we can luff our jib, and we really want to actively slow the pairs. And then, whoa, sorry, the dog electrocuted me. We are, say we're, the other team's taking the hard split, like they've been taught. So we'll, just kind of show that here real quick. So the other team's taking a hard split. Obviously we have to split with them to cover our pairs. A few techniques that I want to show you guys that can help you to keep these opponents together, and not getting so much separation. I'll show you in a second. Cool. Okay, and then the other thing is like, why do we want separation as the chasing team? Well, we're gambling on a big wind shift or a big puff that one pair gets and the other doesn't, right? So what we can do, right, is if these boats are separated, we really want them to tack. I can foot down and get right in front of the other boat and then just slam the brakes, basically like luff the jib, crank the main, and that will basically usually force them to tack, right? Now we can cover them towards the center, and same thing here, right? Drop down in front, they'll probably tack. Now we can, keep them going towards each other. So this is what we want. We want to keep them coming together. And, now we'll talk about the chase, right? So how do we chase a play one? Well, the goal is to get the pairs unbalanced, right? So hard split, that's number one. So we want to get going as far towards the opposite sides as we can. We don't want to cross our teammates unless we are very unbalanced, right? So until we get unbalanced, we got to keep a split, right, and not come back. The boat that's, the pair that's more slowing, we want to do more tacks, right? So we do tacking duel, that'll slow both of us down. And we're basically doing pig in the front with an extra boat. But what I'm trying to say is, like, when you're chasing, you're still going to be losing your pair. The goal is not, and you got to remember this, the goal is not to beat the boat that's right in front of you. It's to pass the boat that's on the other side of the course. Okay. So we're still going to be losing our pair, but because we're unbalanced, we are now beating our teammates' pair, and we can come back and start to do pig in the middle, right? That's what we're doing. We're not chasing the one. We're trying to get unbalanced with a big split. And then once we see that we're unbalanced, we come back together and we start hammering the, new pig in the middle. Okay. So, and, again, the other team's going to try and do some stuff, if they're good, do some stuff to send you back towards your teammate, by hard covering, on the edges and loose covering going towards the center. So you got to watch out for that. And, you may have to do a few tacks on each side, but, if you can get some separation, that increases your chances of catching a favorable wind shift, you and your pair, pretty substantially, right? So you got to be slippery. You're both trying to push and get to the corner. And, like a level 2 mistake for play one is overbalancing. So, for example, we have these two pairs here. We have this pair that's ahead and this pair that's behind, and this this person in this red boat is like a real ringer. They're really good at team racing, and they're doing everything they can to slow down this other boat so they can get the pairs balanced. bouncing, 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 bouncing. They kind of lose sight of what's happening and they overbalance. This is called overbalancing. It's basically like balancing so hard you become unbalanced. How many times can I say that word in a sentence? I don't know. But that's overbalancing, right? Overbalancing. Right. So you got to watch out for that, right? You say, okay, I think we're even, we're good. And so anyway, my last tip is, as always in team racing, you need to communicate your status. So, you say, hey, I need, you need to bump or, you need to balance, we're unbalanced, whatever, as the winning team. You got to talk to each other, right? You got to make sure you're on the same page. So anyway, this is, a relatively in-depth view of, all the things that we can kind of do to have a really successful play one, and then the kind of some strategies you can use to break up a play one. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you have any questions, especially as the chasing team, I would look at the pig in the front video because that's going to give you everything you need to know. And yeah, check in with you guys next time. Peace.